Our final speaker, Mike Town, is a high school physics and engineering teacher at Lakeside School in Seattle, Washington. And he is the recipient of the prestigious Knowles Science Teaching Foundation Fellowship for his leadership in innovative K-12 STEM education. His career in science and education has taken him all over the globe, from rural Michigan, where he helped monitor tropospheric carbon monoxide and ozone, to the East Antarctic Plateau, where he monitored the atmospheric greenhouse effect over the South Pole, right at the South Pole, as I recall. Yeah. He has a BS in physics and an MS and PhD in atmospheric science and a master's in teaching. Tomorrow, Mike will guide a few lucky people in the assembly of their own longboards at the Maker Faire. Please join me in welcoming Mike.
Well, it's an honor to be here, and thanks, Ray, and thanks to OSU and the Maker Committee for hosting this organization. I've learned a lot already, and you might have seen I've been taking notes on what the other speakers have had to say about this. My point today, so I'm going to be kind of giving maybe more of a practitioner's point of view on integrating arts into the STEM education, and the punchline is that I think we want to to do it well, you need to provide a visceral experience, and a lot of these other speakers have highlighted that also. And so I'll unpack that, but before I do, I want to thank DB Longboards, because they're one of the folks that have sponsored a lot of my ideas, particularly with the skateboards in my classroom. Jennifer Mapes and Lakeside School are folks that support my work on site at Lakeside School. The engineering club, the students have helped me prepare for tomorrow, so a lot of the work that I'll be showing tomorrow, the intermediate stages they made. And then I'd like to thank again OSU and the Maker Faire committee for inviting me here. To unpack this idea, I want to first talk about why officially I think STEM ought to be migrated to STEAM in the public consciousness. I'll give you a little bit more personal context and exactly where you ought to be taking that grain of salt with my opinion. And then I'll talk about my classroom goals, and with a Z there, because I like to keep a 90s hip hop edge to my classroom. We want to have fun, but we also want to learn, and having fun makes learning easier. And then I'll give you some examples of arts in my classroom through visceral experience, where some ideas or some places where I think I'm doing it pretty well, but there's room for growth, and some places where I'm looking for ideas. And so if you have ideas, I'd love to hear them. So why STEM to STEAM? In my opinion, it's a practical thing. It's a tactical thing. It's something Cynthia was just talking about. More people learn better in my classroom when I think I'm integrating arts well. And so ultimately it's about equity in the classroom, giving everybody access to ideas, and the more avenues you add to complicated and frustrating ideas to leverage into that frustrating experience, the better people learn. And so here's an example, like STEAM was a revolution in our society, and it's a complicated and frustrating topic. And it turns out that I have a 3-year-old, and this guy has provided a lot of visceral experiences for us to understand STEAM engines. And we talk about, what does Thomas eat? How does he use it? Where does he go? How we build places for him to go, and then we also, we talk about decisions Thomas makes, and I don't agree particularly with all the decisions Thomas makes, but it's an avenue, it's another avenue, it's an opportunity for a conversation, and so, and I'll show you maybe a little bit how this plays out in my classroom. But my personal context, again, is a polar scientist by training professionally, and I've been really lucky in that way, and some education training also. But you may or may not have noticed that I don't have formal arts training, and so this is something that I'm growing into as I see its utility in my classroom and its necessity in terms of equity for teaching to all students. And so this is, again, I leverage a lot of my colleagues' expertise and a lot of the work I do, in particular the skateboard project and some other things. I collaborate a lot with other folks, and that's advice at least I have for educators out there. And so my classroom goals are, as a science teacher, I'm looking to, let me start this video. We want students to make good decisions based on evidence. That's what we want citizens to be able to do as a science teacher. That's my ultimate goal. And we do this by trying to teach them first, like, multiple representations about an event. So here's an exciting event that was really fun. We launched water rockets. It's a rich scientific event, okay? And people are like, we're gonna do what? Yes, we're going to do that, and but it's going to be a science thing. And so we go out there, and let's say this object in the upper left is a representation of our event, of like what the actual event is. We want to teach the multiple representations of that event to how to unpack this thing, so that, like, because neither the bracket nor the T nor the F will completely describe this complicated, rich event. But if we understand each of those, then we can see, we can understand the event just a little bit better. And so how does that play out in my classroom? Well, we take that video becomes data, we take it back to the crime lab, put it in the crime software, and then we track it. And now we have like a more qualitative but precise representation of this event. And so we're kind of understanding it better. And then we turn that into a graph of velocity versus time, and oh my goodness, this thing's going over 100 miles per hour. That's in meters per second, and that's also a cool thing. And we saw that, we felt it went, psh, and that kid who pulled the trigger, he got water on his face, and so those are actual experiences that now we're going to tie to data. And we have another representation here of a mathematical representation. So kids that weren't really into math, they're like, now, oh, I want to understand. That's how fast the velocity was changing. That's acceleration. And so it's a complicated topic that we're trying to, like, bring meaning to. And then over on the right there, you see, well, it's slowing down, but then something happens in the air. What could possibly have happened in the air? That wasn't actually physical. Turns out it's a process issue. It's a data collection issue. The camera started to move. And so we're talking about now process data collection. And so this, to me, if you choose a rich event, you can have all these conversations all at once about an event that people get tied to emotionally. But this isn't a particularly artistic situation, and I could use some advice and help on how to make that maybe a little bit more accessible in terms of migrating that towards STEAM. But there are other examples where we've done that, where I've done this, and the reason that I'm here is about the skateboards that I build with my students. And we start that one off with a visceral event. We watch a movie. Everybody loves movies, but it's a cool movie about the history of skateboarding. And then we go and touch skateboards, and we go ride them and try not to hurt ourselves. And then we go talk to students and teachers who skate, and we get a whole bunch of ungoogleable information about the rider experience, and now we're ready to start designing. So we slow things down a little bit, and we talk about the engineering design process, and it's really a process that we want to reward. It's a process that we've got now maybe the background information to start, and it looks a little bit like this for some students, where they've got some purpose in mind, and they're trying to balance form with function, a classic visual arts concept, and other students have different abilities, and so they can maybe design in 3D modeling software, but they're all going towards the same end. Not every student knows how to use every tool, and so we're trying to, so we learn how to do that, and students are teaching each other and recording what they learn methodically, and then we do the thing, and this is where, again, and this is also part of the visceral experience of putting your hands on things. Just like Cynthia was saying, you get a relationship with the thing that you're making, and it's a physical relationship, but it's also had a lot of, like, thought behind it, and we're recording that thought, and we're trying to build professional skills by making timelines and being accountable to them. And we've got a lot of creativity in the different products that come out, and all those designs, all those shapes and curvatures had a reason behind them. And then we have an opportunity to make it a scientific endeavor by understanding the strength of these things and doing tests that inform design. And And then there's an opportunity at the end that everybody knows about, that you have a chance for your personal expression. So here's some Seattle pride where we're from on the left, and then some Puget Sound pride with the octopus. And students they really get into that. And I'll show, if you come around tomorrow, I'll show you some of the other stencils that are pretty amazing that you'll get to try out. And in the end, I think there's purple rain and rainbows for almost all my students, and it's been really exciting, and also there's a lot of room for growth. Another thing that we're doing is we take students into the mountains to understand the snow. We understand avalanche detection, prediction, and awareness. And this is a visceral experience. We're out there twice understanding the snow at the beginning of the season, seeing how it changes to the end of the season, and trying to solve engineering problems within this small field, this field relevant to us. And it's been a great experience, and it fits my training, and there's still a lot of room to grow. I've had some conversations already on OSU, like how can I migrate this to the arts? Well, there's many ways it turns out, and I haven't done any of them. And so I'm looking for more ideas about how to do this, but I'm looking also forward to some collaborations here at OSU on how to do that. So to summarize, I think education done well is centered around a visceral experience, but in particular, integrating arts into education, it's almost necessary, but it is. Anyway, the visceral experience gives you the option to add that value, for me, it's an equity issue, because more students will learn that thing that you want to teach, or that you want them to learn. And the visceral experience is a real thing, and my goal, is to teach real-world skills and content by presenting students with real-world problems so that they can learn those things for reals. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike.